Hello friends, today we have with us Ainsley Alves. He's done Masters in Geology from Mumbai University from Somaiya College. Let us hear more from him about geology. Hi Ainsley, please tell us about yourself and your academic background.
Hi, Gnanish. So basically, I am a graduate in geology. I've done my bachelor's in geology from St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, and my master's from Somaiya College of Science and Commerce. Yeah. So that is my. And currently, I am looking for a job in the same field.
Okay. So before you took your bachelor's in geology, you did your 11th, 12th in science.
Right.
So Ainsley, geology is not a very common field that we see people taking. Can you tell us what is geology?
All right. So basically, geology is the study of the earth, right? Geology. Logy means study.
Okay,
Geo is
right.
earth. So it's the study of the earth, basically how the earth was formed. So the earth's surface, the materials that form the earth. So we are talking about the inside the core, the mantle, and the crust, and also everything that has lived on the earth and how it
Hmm.
all came about basically. So you're starting off with the single cell organisms like the amoebas, and you move on to perhaps the more complex ones like the fish in the sea, the amphibians, the reptiles, the like, and then on to of course um, mammals and finally humans. So
Hmm.
when you break down geology as what is geology, you would say that it is how the materials, the structures, the processes, and the organisms on the earth have changed over time from the formation till up until present.
Okay, so how can one pursue geology? How does one enter this course? What is the eligibility or the entrance requirements?
All right. So basically, you need to do your 10 plus 2. Your plus 2, that is your 12th standard, you'd have to do it with physics, chemistry, and maths. You
Right.
need those three subjects.
Okay.
And yeah, once you have that qualification, you can take on geology. You can do your bachelor's in geology.
Okay. You don't
Uh,
need biology.
uh, Biology comes as an optional. You can because so basically when I did my plus two in
Hmm.
at St. Xavier's College in Mumbai, also had an option of choosing geology for the plus two. So right after
Right.
my 10th, I had the option of dropping biology and starting off with geology, and that's what I did. So I really didn't do. I did PCMG, not PCMB, the combination.
Okay. So once a student has entered into this course, geology, what is the structure of this course? How long is the course? What subjects all study? How are the exams? How frequent are they? What is the format of the exams? Do you all have field trips or projects because it's about geology? What is the structure of the whole course?
So basically, your bachelor's in geology is a 3-year course,
Hmm.
and for it you need to qualify your class 12 examination with physics, mathematics, and chemistry.
Hmm.
Um, you also have an option of doing an honors course, which is a 4-year course,
Right.
right? So now the courses in geology, they include you can do your BSc with applied geology, or you can do BSc with geology, or BSc with honors geology. These are three different courses that you can do. Mainly, you have six papers by your third year in geology, and these can be various subjects of geology. So you have subjects such as geomorphology, structural geology, crystallography, which is the study of crystals, mineralogy, the study of minerals, paleontology, that is the study of fossils and the evolution of life that I was talking about earlier. Your stratigraphy, which also talks about the study of rock layering and everything. You have petrology, which is the study of rocks. Economic geology, which is the study of economic minerals such as limestone, talc, all these kind of things. And you
Right.
also have mining and hydrogeology, which is the study of groundwater resources. So, along with this, you will have field trips that are conducted every year. So,
Right.
in the first year, since it's an introduction and geology is a new subject, we normally have two, one or two field trips. These trips would be day trips, like you go in the morning, you come back in the evening. You don't have to stay overnight, and you usually visit um, uh, visit areas which are around the location of your college, so you don't have to travel too far. And as the years progress, so that means your second year and your third year, the field trips keep getting more intense. So you have a like 3 day trip probably in your second year. You have like a week's trip or something in your third year. Now each of these trips are very significant because they actually teach you a lot more than you can learn from a book. Because I mean, at least what I feel is practical knowledge is much more interesting, and it's like you get hands-on knowledge on basically what you've studied all those weeks in college. So
Right.
yeah, so all that you consolidate into a field report, which eventually, you know, makes you, I mean, according to me, it makes you remember much more easily, a lot more about geology.
Hmm.
So post your bachelor's, once you complete your bachelor's,
Hmm.
you have the option of doing a master's in geology. Now, your master's in geology is, you have a lot of options available for it. So
Okay.
the most common is you do your masters from a regular university or college, which would
Hmm.
for which you would have to just give the entrance exams of that college if they have one, or a regular entrance exam, and you need to have your 50%. You need to have 50% in your bachelor's. Other than that, you also have the Indian Institutes of Technology,
Hmm.
IITs. So IITs like IIT Bombay, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Roorkee. Uh, these are all. So to get to these colleges, you have to give an examination called IIT JAM, which is your joint admission test. So
Okay.
it's one examination after your bachelor's that you give, and then as per your all India ranking, you can get into one of these colleges. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you also mentioned field trips. They sound very interesting. Can you describe one particular field trip which you had? How you go about, what you all do, and then finally you have the report coming out.
Right.
So how is the
So,
field trip experience? Yeah.
so the field trip basically, it's a lot of fun,
Hmm.
as it sounds. It's a lot of fun, but it's
Hmm.
also a lot of hard work because
Hmm.
I mean, you're waking up at 6 in the morning, sometimes 5 in the morning, because you need to
Hmm.
travel to a site which is maybe 50, 60, 70 kilometers away from nearest civilization. So
Hmm.
it's kind of hard, but it's also fun because you get to see some. So I so the best structures you'll find the furthest away from any nearest civilization, because
Right.
when humans intervene, they just destroy nature. Um, so yeah, so all these sites that are preserved are kind of far away from civilization. So you get to see beautiful structures. You get to see textbook examples, like something that you've seen in the textbook. You can actually see it in field. You get to collect lovely samples of rocks, of fossils sometimes. So it's very interesting. Like when you when you go on field, like suppose if you're going to like I remember going to Malvan in Maharashtra for my field trip,
Right.
and we're just standing there in this riverbed. Of course, the river is kind of dried up, so you can stand there on the base, and the first thing that our professor told us was, right now you're standing on something that is 3,300 million years old.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so that was kind of
Right.
amazing, like to think of it, and then like to see beautiful crystals, you know,
Hmm.
with colors ranging from red, green, blue, white, to to even like collecting crystal samples that are enclosed in a rock. So basically you see a black rock, circular rock, and you like a professor will try and break this open and see what you get inside, and you find like beautiful quartz crystals inside which are like purple and white. So it's really amazing, but it's also, again, there is a lot of hard work that's involved, because remember, you're breaking these rocks in the middle of day around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's
Right.
the sun is scorching down on you.
For whom, what do you think is this course appropriate? Which students should go for this course?
So
Who should take up geology?
basically anyone who has this I would say, who has a keen eye towards nature. Anybody who feels a certain, a certain connection with nature, with, especially when I'm saying nature, I don't mean trees, I mean rocks, I mean, you know
Hmm.
um, looking at, when you see mountains or you see a volcano and you're fascinated by what it looks like and you want to know more about it. Somebody
Right.
who's ready, who's mentally prepared to work hard in the field, uh,
Right.
ready to, like, trek up dangerous passes and dangerous routes, probably even, like, um, have to probably even trespass sometimes on people's property, because you just have to access some areas which are just not accessible sometimes, just to get a good
Hmm.
idea about the subject.
Hmm.
So yeah, or somebody who, so it's not just restricted to field work. I mean, you can also be a geologist. You might also like the subject and probably be involved in researching. So when you see, like, somebody who likes to observe a lot of things under the microscope. So if you want to see a rock sample under a microscope, you can see different crystal structures out there, and
Right.
a lot of different things. Yeah, not just rocks. You can also see, it's quite common to think that the sand that we get on the seashore is only broken down rock, but sometimes sand is also made up of tiny microorganisms like shells. So if you look at it
Hmm.
under the microscope, you will be surprised to see that it's not just a crystal, but sometimes you also find microorganisms out there.
Hmm. Hmm. So students should have a desire to know more about the earth, geology, or
Right.
a natural attraction towards it.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean, curiosity towards it.
I
Right.
agree.
Okay.
Yes.
What are some good colleges from where you can learn geology, and or how can a student go about selecting his institution? What parameters can he should keep in mind, and how can he evaluate them to select which institution can he go to?
So for your bachelor's, so basically, since I'm living in Mumbai, I had two options for my bachelor's. That was St. Xavier's College and KJ Somaiya College.
Okay.
And other than Mumbai, there are, I mean, in Pune you have Ferguson's College, you have the Pune University, and you have a couple of other colleges in and around Mumbai, in and around India, that offer geology. There are a lot of colleges in the north of India, like in Punjab, in Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal. I think the most important thing that you look at for an institution is how close it is for you. So if you're looking, because there's a lot of work involved with geology. I mean, you're
Hmm.
constantly in class doing some research. You're constantly doing some lab work, something. So if you want to select your institution, make sure that you either live close by to the college, or you can probably, if you have campus, you have if you can stay on campus. I think that's more important to selecting your institution,
Okay.
because the courses for your bachelor's are kind of are almost laid out the same, so not much of difference between each of these colleges.
Okay, but what about quality of the faculty, the infrastructure, or the proximity of the college to physical features? Like mountains. Like colleges in north will have more access to the mountainous areas, or on the shoreline they'll have more access to the sea. So, how much do these things matter, and can they be evaluated before selecting a college?
I don't think your proximity to nature should play an important role, because, again, if, as I said, you would do all this in your fieldwork. So, for example, you travel for your fieldwork. You could travel up north for your fieldwork. You could travel to Gujarat. You could travel. It depends on what field work you want to pursue.
Hmm.
It's not. I don't think where your college is really matters to what field work you would do, because we've traveled a lot for our field works. We've traveled to, like, if we wanted to go to a hilly mountain area, we traveled to Lonavala. We traveled to the sea line. We've traveled to the Elephanta Caves, just off the
Hmm.
coast of Mumbai. So you can travel. So for field work, it doesn't matter. When you want to talk about faculty, I think each college has their own. I mean, all the faculty is really good. So I can't really tell you. Like I've had excellent teachers and people who are so well qualified in the field and
Right.
in like at St. Xavier's College, both at St. Xavier's College and at Somaiya College. So
Hmm.
yeah, faculty is see, it's basically, I mean, you will learn from them because you will realize their love for the subject. The only reason why they are still doing geology is because they absolutely adore the subject, and you can see it in the way they teach. You can see it in the way they take you on your field trips. They're just so in love with the subject. So yeah, and that kind of translates onto you a little bit. Like when you see them and how
Yes,
their passion,
absolutely.
yeah, it just comes
Right.
onto you. So yeah.
Right. So, what are the applications of studying geology in future? Where can you use it, and in what roles can you work once you become, you become a geologist or completed your studies in geology?
Right. So again, after your bachelor's, you do your master's in geology. Now here you get a chance to branch out either in a particular field. So
Right.
say you want to do something. If you're very sure you want to pursue oceanography, which is the study of the ocean. You have institutes where you could do that. You have NIO, the National Institute of Oceanography in Goa, in Bombay. You have if you want to do petroleum, there are so many institutes that are petroleum institutes. So whatever you want to do, you can choose your line in your during your masters. Your bachelors, you wouldn't be able to choose a specialization field, but in your masters, you can. Uh, you could choose GIS, which is exploration geology,
Hmm.
where you're basically you
Geographic
study,
information systems.
yeah, GIS, geographical information
Hmm.
system, where you study about from satellite imagery and all that. So there are a lot of fields
And I
that you
think
can.
that has really upcome. It's
That
really
is that is an
because of
upcoming
Google
sector.
Maps
Yes,
and Google Earth and
absolutely.
all these technologies.
So
And even
much.
ISRO is launching a lot of satellites.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what
So
apart from oceanography, GIS, petroleum sector, what other specializations you have in masters?
Um, you have a lot of other sectors. You could specialize in crystallography, or you could specialize in mineralogy, that is the study of minerals, or
Hmm.
hydrogeology. Groundwater. We are always facing this problem of water
Water crisis.
shortage. Yeah,
Hmm.
so we always have this problem. So you probably want to look for new and new groundwater sources, or if you're having flood somewhere, uh, I mean, this is what you do. You can do hydrogeology, and other than hydrogeology, you have gemology, which is the study of gemstones, which you could take
Hmm.
up. So you're probably dealing with diamonds and rubies and emeralds and pearls and all these fancy things and their fake counterparts. Or you have a lot of other things like you could be a researcher and do structural geology. You could do mapping, cartography. There are just so many fields you could do. You could again go back into research and do geochemistry, geophysics. There are a lot of branches of geology that you could deal with.
Hmm. Right. You see, looking at hearing this out, it seems that there's it's so diverse, and so there's a diverse scope for the field because there are applications in different industries depending on our specialization. So, what is the scope of this profession for students in India, and does this scope vary by the specialization that you choose in your masters? How is it the
All right.
scenario?
So, other than these specializations, most of the master's programs also allow you to choose multiple subjects for your master's. So,
Hmm.
if you're not too sure of doing one thing, you could always do
Hmm.
a general master's in geology, and then work your way up into whichever field you want.
Hmm.
Um, as for the scope, yes, there is a lot of scope in India and abroad for geologists
Okay.
because, as you've heard, it's literally in everything you do, you probably need a geologist somewhere or the other.
Right.
So there is a lot of scope. It's just that you need to look, you need to search, There are jobs. Jobs don't come by so easily, but there are still jobs. So it all depends, you know. So currently, the oil and natural gas sector is
Hmm.
a little low. So there is a shortage of jobs there. But there are other fields like GIS and hydrogeology and oceanography that are currently flourishing, and there is a demand for geologists in these fields. So it
Hmm.
really depends on, on a lot of factors, on which field is open and which field isn't at that moment. So, but for India, if you want to join any of the government organizations in India, there are a lot of qualification exams that you can give, like the UPSC exam. If you want to join the Geological Survey of India, which is essentially mapping of India. There is the UPSC exam if you need to join ONGC, that is Oil and Natural Gas Corporation of India. There is the GATE entrance exam, which you need to give, and these are qualifying exams that you give after your masters, and to join any company in India. Other than this, you can also just look out for a lot of job postings on websites, because people are always looking out for geologists.
Okay. Okay, but if you have done masters in, let's say, a particular specialization of geology,
Mhm.
what are the chances of getting a job in another specialization of geology? Like you've done in petroleum, and how about and you want to work in GIS sector because petroleum sector is not taking in geologists at this point.
Right.
How easy that transition is, across
So
specializations.
basically, I'm not too sure about it, but it would all depend on whether or not you have done GIS in some of your in some as one course
In your
in
bachelor's.
either your bachelor's or your master's. Yeah. So then it all depends on the job description, right? Like
Right.
what the company is looking for. Like suppose if they just want a bachelor's in geology, which
Hmm.
shows that you've done GIS, then I think that's all right. But if they're looking for somebody who is specialized in that field, then I think that depends on what that specialization is.
What is your suggestion? Would you recommend a student to pursue this course given the difficulty in finding a job, for example, what, or not?
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking to a geologist, so I'm obviously going to recommend that you do the course, because
Hmm.
I love the subject, and if you're really interested in it, I know finding a job is not that easy, but if you have that patience and if you really love the subject, I think you can wait it out, because there will be a job sooner or later. There will be a job,
Hmm.
and um, the Earth is so old. It's, as I said in the start, it's 6.4 billion years old. I mean, what's not there to study in it? So it's so interesting. There are so many branches. There are so many job fields that you could venture into if you want to. So
Hmm.
you just need to be patient, and just wait it out. Wait out the waiting period, I would say, and wait for that job to come by, because trust me, I'm sure it's worth it.
So, Ainsley, how about studying geology masters from abroad? Is that an option? How difficult it is to secure admissions? Is the course expensive? Can you tell us more about it?
All right. So basically, when we are looking at a course abroad, there's two things you need to keep in mind. Firstly, your eligibility. That is, so basically in India we have a 3-year bachelor course. Usually, unless you're doing honors, it's a 4-year course. So,
Right.
and the criteria abroad is that mostly you need to
Hmm.
have done a 4-year bachelor course in India, in
Right.
your BSc. So, keeping that in mind, you need to know that you probably would have to do another year of MSc, like the first year of MSc, before you could apply to a college abroad, unless they do take. Like, it depends on which college you're applying to. Secondly, um, if you are looking at going abroad, if you're looking
Hmm.
at uh, having a career in geology or abroad, it is better you do your master's or a course abroad, because um, the courses in the from the Indian institutes are not really recognized unless you've done it from, say, something like IIT Bombay or IIT or any of the IITs or some, or maybe even ISM Dhanbad. Those courses are valid, but most of the other courses that you do from like a regular university or college sometimes aren't a valid degree for qualification abroad.
Hmm.
So yeah, these are two things you need to keep in mind. Yes, these courses are expensive, but if you check with your your colleges, sometimes you do have options available for scholarships. You can also check with the colleges you're applying to. Sometimes they do have scholarships on based on merit. So there are various scholarships that are available. It depends. Again, it depends from which country you're applying to and under what circumstances you're applying.
Okay, Ainsley, tell me one interesting thing that geology has taught you.
Okay. Um, I'll tell you something that y'all can all probably follow up with if y'all are interested in the field. This happened. This was my first day in the Bachelor's of Geology program at St. Xavier's College. I remember
Right.
walking into the class all enthusiastic to learn about something, and so we had our professor walk in, and he had a present for each one of us lying inside the desk. So he was like, all of you stretch out and reach out for the thing in front of you. And we pick it up, and of course, it's a rock because geology, you would equate it to a rock. And it's a rock, it's a small piece of a rock. And he's like, what is this? What is this? What are you all holding? And everybody looked at it, and we trying to give some answer like, oh, we've seen this, we know this, and all. Um, so he was like, you are holding something that is 65 million years old, right? So we're like, wow. And he's like, this was probably around the time when the last dinosaurs walked the earth. This is that old. And we were all so amazed. And we were all blown away. We were like, wow, we're going to keep this forever. And then he, he calmly turns around and tells us, I think you all should all go and wash your hands. I picked this up from CST station. Yeah, so that basically the rock that he picked up was basalt from the train tracks.
Right,
Yeah, you see those
right,
stones that are on the
right.
train tracks.
I
Yeah,
understood.
yeah,
Right.
those are all 65 million years old. So you can probably
Oh,
take pick up one which is clean enough and probably show it around to your friends and brag about it, saying that, see, look at this thing. This is 65 million years old.
yeah.
So
Next time, I think I'll think twice. Before picking up to throw it anywhere. Now I've got a lot of respect for that rock.
yeah, right. Yeah, you can also say like a dinosaur probably walked on it or not.
Right. Okay, Ainsley, what are your future plans? You finished your master's in geology, so
Yeah.
you've completed your studies. Now, how do you plan to take up this profession?
So basically, currently, I am looking for a job,
Hmm.
something that suits my preferences. So, something that I want to do. As I said, I want to pursue a career in the oil and natural gas field. So,
Right.
and as I said, the market is currently down, so it's taking a while, but I'm waiting patiently for it to happen.
Right.
Other than this, I also plan on giving uh, my GATE examination, the qualification for to get a job in probably ONGC.
Hmm.
And after working for a couple of years, I plan on doing my PhD. So once I have some
Okay.
work experience, once I have a proper understanding of the field and what I like to do in it, I would probably pursue my PhD in it.
Okay. Wonderful. Ainsley, your last word to young students who wish to pursue this course.
Um, I would just say that everybody has an opinion, and I have this is my opinion on geology. You don't need to, you know, take someone's opinion as gospel truth. Like what I just said to you doesn't have to be it. You could you could fall in love with the subject and totally different. aspect. Maybe not rocks. Maybe fossils is something that interests you. Maybe not fossils. Maybe GIS is something that interests you. Maybe not that. Then the oceans is something that interests you. So take your time, do your research. We have Google at our disposal. Just research on the subject. uh, Try not to follow some trends that, oh, if I do geology, this is what I should do. No, you can do anything in the subject. The subject is vast. So just take your time, don't rush into anything, speak to people, of course, and then finally do what which you're right with your mind and your heart.
Right. That was fantastic, Ainsley. Thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful learning about geology. It's a new field to me also, and I'm sure a lot of students. As a student, I was not aware about geology when in my 10th or 11th I was choosing my field.
Hmm.
So I hope this will help the young students also who are exploring
I
this
hope
field.
so too. Yes. And it was my
Right.
pleasure. It
Thanks.
was my pleasure. Yes.